Hello, everyone. Today we'll talk about the scientist cameramen that have been improving slowly and surely throughout the series. And from what we can gather on episode 54 with the new MECHA technology they made, I'll talk about the reasons why the scientist cameraman might become an essential part in the war and how they came to be who they are now in the series. Watch the video until the end so that you don't miss any interesting secrets. Also, make sure to like and subscribe if you want to see more of these analysis videos. Anyways, here we go. The scientist cameraman first appeared in episode 23 while they were trying to fix the Titan cameraman after his battle with G-Man's Skibidi toilet in episode 20. In episode 20, right after the rocket Skibidi toilet hits Titan, cameraman's shield, we can see that his arm is broken, and this is the reason he escapes the battlefield. Scientist cameramen are very easy to spot thanks to their white suits, which looks a lot more slick compared to the normal black coats the cameramen have, if you ask me. And unlike most cameramen at the beginning of the series, they were used to using weapons from the start, most likely because of the fact that they are the ones doing the testing of the new upgrades and weapons. And in episode 23, we can see engineer and scientist cameraman working on Titan cameraman's arm and core. After this point, we didn't see Titan cameraman until episode 50 with his new upgrades. But from what we can gather, scientist cameraman are a lot smarter compared to other cameraman and engineer cameraman work as their underlings, and they handle the physical stuff after scientist cameraman invents the tools and make the calculations. Scientist and engineer cameramen are the perfect duo when it comes to making new gadgets, and this is teased to us in episode 23 after the scientist cameraman's lab is invaded by a small number of Skibidi toilets, and the Titan cameraman who is being upgraded shoots his new finger lasers. I would say that their main antagonist is the scientist Skibidi toilet that we briefly see in 16 and meet in episode 30. I do think that the scientist Skibidi toilet is much smarter, but the difference is that he is just one entity, and there are many scientist cameramen who collectively will easily beat the scientist Skibidi toilet's feats, such as finding a cure against scientist Skibidi toilet's parasites. Who do you think is smarter? The scientist cameraman or the scientist Skibidi toilet? Let me know your theories in the comments. In episode 23, we can also see that there are some flying camera drones that the scientist cameramen are controlling. These are most likely to analyze Titan cameramen's state. But I do think that these could be upgraded and used in battle. And the scientist cameramen can start a new division where they control battle drones that are remotely controlled. This would honestly help them so much in the battle and with all the weapon upgrades they have been getting lately, like the new stun guns and grenades in episode 54. These new weapons have been so helpful lately after all that struggle, when Skibidi toilets had the upper hand until the upgraded Titan cameraman came back. We also get to see the new MECHA scientist cameraman, but I'll get to that later in the video, so make sure to watch until to end to not miss anything important. As you know, until now, we have seen a couple of scientist cameraman labs, and weirdly enough, all of their locations have been leaked till now. The first one we saw was the lab in episode 23, and as you know, Skibidi toilets found out where it was, even though they were killed by the Titan cameraman. The information most likely got out, and after this, the small bunker lab in episode 35, where they found a way to cure for the parasite and made the electromagnetic parasite disabler technology, was somehow leaked and got destroyed by G-Man and the infected Titan Speaker Man. In the next episode, we see a large scientist cameraman for the first time. To our knowledge, he is one of a kind, and he is a weapons master while also being a scientist. He dual wields the electromagnetic parasite disablers and is there to cure to infected. We can actually see 3 cameramen sitting next to the large scientist cameraman because they know how strong he is. To me, this unique cameraman gives James Bond vibes, and the drip he has is literally unmeasurable, but sadly, it doesn't end well for him. In episode 37, we can see that he is the one controlling the new electromagnetic parasite disabler laser tank. But as you know, in episode 38, it gets blown up by G-Man after he got his new upgrades and our beloved large scientist cameraman dies. One of the craziest inventions of the scientist cameraman was the orbital camera that we saw in episode 17. This crazy camera that can fly and shoot one of the most powerful laser beams in the Skibidi toilet universe was weirdly discontinued. I have no idea why they haven't made a new one with all the new technology they have right now, but I really would like to see the comeback of a newly upgraded orbital camera in the upcoming battles. It would give the cameramen a huge lead if they can make it so that it has enough firepower. Imagine if they can make a laser beam that has the power of an actual nuke. That would be crazy. I think with the help of TV men, the scientist cameramen can surely make it happen because, as you know, TV men and women use special TV beams as well. Imagine if they were to combine the blue laser beams with the orange flame beam that the TV woman uses in episode 49. Maybe that'll be too powerful to be in the series, but I don't know, it's just good to think about it. What do you think? What would your dream weapon be in the series? Now let's get to the latest inventions of the scientist cameraman and start with the new upgraded version of the electromagnetic parasite disabler tank that we saw briefly in episode 53. This new upgraded version most likely was made purely to cure the Titan Speakerman and has no other use. And from the looks of it, the laser beam has been upgraded to become a lot more powerful and most likely has more range now. And unlike last time when the large scientist cameraman was driving it now, we can see that two scientist cameramen are operating the new tank inside the tank's protection. This new armor for the tank is probably made of materials that can withstand the lasers of G-Man's Skibidi toilet because of what happened last time. We also can see a circular shape behind the car, which suggests that this new tank has rocket boosts on the back and can go to insane speeds for a tank this big. Behind the new upgraded tank, we also get to see a new vehicle that has a resemblance to the old electromagnetic parasite disabler tank. But instead of an electromagnetic parasite disabler, we can clearly see that there is a new weapon mounted on top of it, and a large cameraman is operating the new vehicle. We've yet to see this new weapon and vehicle in action, but I'm sure that we'll see it soon enough. Now, before we get to the MECHA scientist cameraman, let's talk about when we first started seeing scientist cameramen going on the battlefield like this and started fighting alongside normal cameraman. You most likely know by now that episode 43 was the first episode we saw, the plunger cameraman, and standing next to him was his buddy, one of the scientist cameraman, and we can see that he has a parasite disabler weapon with him. I don't know how these two became friends, but in episode 48 we get to see this duo in action. But sadly, at the end of it, our scientist cameraman dies horribly. Scientist cameraman sacrificing himself for the sake of saving the infected cameraman was most likely an inspiration to many scientist cameramen, which in my opinion made them start producing more weapons and gadgets for the cameramen to fight on without worry. And finally, in the latest episode 54, we get to see a new scientist cameraman gadget used by a scientist cameraman in the battlefield. The mecha that the scientist cameraman made is most likely going to become a mass-produced gadget later on in the series after it's perfected, and they might even start making their own Titans out of this technology that can be controlled by normal or large cameramen. When we look at the MECHA cameraman, we can clearly see that the weapon used on the left top was the weapon that shot the stun dart that stunned the glitch Skibidi toilet that came back, which put him in a state of complete freeze. My guess is that they are going to take the glitch Skibidi toilet into the scientist cameraman lab and study how he can go up to speeds that are invisible to the eye, and maybe start using Skibidi tech to improve the cameraman technology, because when you think about it, even though Skibidi toilets were always salvaging technology from other species and using everything they got to improve their toilets, the Alliance never did this. We only saw them destroy and kill the Skibidi toilets, and this is the first time we see them freezing an enemy to study it. If they start doing this more, this could actually propel them to become the winners of this war. When it comes to the weapon on the bottom left, it's clearly a modified version of the new stun beam weapons that the cameramen have, which we saw at the beginning of this episode. And as we all know at this point, the weapon on the right top is an electromagnetic parasite disabler that's modified to fit the mech. The weapon on the bottom right is an unknown firearm identical to the pulse rifle from Half-Life 2. Even though we don't know what this weapon does in the Skibidi toilet universe, we know that it's a dark, energy-powered assault rifle in the Half-Life universe. We'll most likely get to see all the weapons in action in the coming episodes, because I really do think that a big episode is on the way. It's been 4 days since there has been a new episode of Skibidi Toilet, and episode 55 is most likely going to be crazy. If you don't want to miss out on the analysis that I'll be making in the future, make sure to like and subscribe.